Hey, everybody. Welcome to Coffee and Conversation for ESL Listening. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Christina. So grab a cup and join the conversation.
Hey, so Christina, how's everything going?
Hey, it's going well. We're hopefully getting a nicer weather here in Illinois because it's been kind of rainy and yucky. But how about you?
Oh, everything's good, same. We're a little bit hot here, though. Yeah, maybe gonna go to the pool later on, but I'm not sure. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Wait,
know,
did you just
terrible.
say you're going to go to the pool?
Sorry. But it'll be warm there soon. Don't worry.
It will.
So, okay, everybody, we have a topic for you today that I think should be pretty fun and interesting. I think so anyway. So, in my travels, in my research, as I was kind of looking around for different interesting topics, I noticed that there are a lot of times that you'll find blog posts or social media posts where people talk about interesting, strange, unusual, shall we say quirky things about the United States that people who are not from here just find a little bit different and unusual. Right. So I know we have a lot of those kinds of things. Right. And Christina, you moved here from Ukraine. And how long ago was it?
Well, I moved here in 2005.
2005. Oh, wow.
So we're going on 17 years.
Yeah. So I'm sure that you, maybe even before you came here, if you saw the U.S. in movies or TV shows or however right. You may have heard about it, you probably thought, that was weird.
I did.
Did you now? Please do tell. Share.
Well, I mean, I think it's just like with anywhere you go, any country you travel to, you have kind of preconceived ideas of what that might be, right? So yeah, through TV or movies. But, and, my first impression when I came to the United States was the people were very friendly here. Just like they showed in the movies. So that wasn't really a big difference there in ideas. But the biggest, I wouldn't say the biggest shock, but one of the things that was really surprising to me when I went shopping the very first time here. And, you go to the grocery store or any store, right? And you see the price on something you buy.
Oh, yes.
And then you come up to the register to pay for it, and it's a different price because the price on the sign doesn't include the tax.
Yes, that's a problem. Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, this is not what the price said over there. Why am I paying more now? So
you probably thought they were ripping you off. There's a nice phrasal verb for you, ripping you off, trying to steal.
That was good. Well, I just wasn't prepared for it because, sometimes, okay, I have this much money here, so this is what I'm going to buy, especially when you're traveling. You have a certain budget or a certain amount of money you want to spend on things. So I was like, okay, I have this much money. I can buy this, this, and that. And then you come up to the register and you're like, oh, wait, I don't have enough money to buy this, this, and that.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, if it's just like one or two items, it's one thing. But, when you've got a cartload full of items and you're kind of mentally adding it up, how much it's going to be, and it can be a big difference once you add that sales tax, which, it varies in states. So from state to state, you'll pay a different amount of sales tax. Where I live in Alabama, it's quite high. It's like almost 10%.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty
that's a big deal.
It's pretty high in Illinois as well. And then it depends what you buy. It depends on the,
yes.
Food is usually lower. I think it taxed at the lower rate, but then some other goods or other things are higher. So we probably could have another discussion about this, just taxes.
Yeah, that's true. But one interesting thing is you say that, though, which I think is kind of funny. So, I live in Alabama, very close to Florida, and Florida has no sales tax on food.
At
So a
all.
lot, yeah. So a lot of people will drive over to Florida and do all their big shopping for food. Like if they're going to have a party or something like that, well, let's go to Florida and pick up all our supplies there.
Supplies.
Why not?
Interesting. Very
Yeah, yeah,
interesting. I
yeah.
know that we visit my in-laws in Indiana, and their sales tax on a lot of things, not just food, is lower,
Right. Yeah.
considerably lower. So sometimes we're like, well, we'll just go buy it in Indiana when we're visiting family. But interesting, very interesting how it, like I said, we could probably talk
Yeah.
a long time about this.
We will not do that today for you guys. Okay. So, yeah, the first thing I thought about with this topic is how I've seen a lot of people complain, and I'm talking about a lot of people from other countries where they notice that Americans, there I go, we call ourselves Americans. And they think, well, you're in the United States, but you're not America. There's Canada, there's Mexico, there's, you're not the only ones in America. There's North America, there's South America. So yeah, so it can be kind of irritating for people in other countries to hear us do that. To be fair, I think often we use that like as an adjective, kind of. Because, the name of our country is the United States of America. And to try to call ourselves United Statesians, I guess that's not really an adjective. That is a noun anyway, but you know what I mean?
Right.
So
it doesn't have a good ring to it.
It doesn't have a good ring. Yeah. So I think it's just, America is in our name. So it makes sense to say we're Americans. So anyway, just want to start that off with no offense. I know we seem like we feel like we're the center of the world. We really do not believe that. And that's just a convenience thing, I think, for us to say that.
And I think there might be a historic reason, like for the historically how it happened.
Yeah.
People in the United States call themselves Americans. So
yeah. So nothing meant by that at all. So, okay. Well, also I want to remind everybody before we get too far into this, because sometimes I forget, make sure you check out our show notes. At the end, when you go online, you can find our show notes. We'll have information about phrases and words and other things about the topic that you might find interesting and relevant. So make sure you go to realcoolenglish.com/podcast and check out our show notes. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about some funny quirks. And this may be a new word for some of you. I love this word because it means like unusual things, unusual habits, or ways of behaving. But it kind of has an appealing sense to it. It's not like unusual in a bad way, but it's kind of like, that's interesting. So, yeah, some quirks about how we do things here in the United States. And so we have each picked a few to talk about. And I'll tell you about the first one that I have come across. I've seen in several places people talk about, and that is how much Americans smile on the street to strangers. Yeah, I'm smiling right now.
Me too. I have a good story about it, actually.
Okay.
So when my husband visited me the first time in Ukraine, when we were still dating, and I remember just walking down the street and being in the subway and all that, when my husband noticed that not many people were smiling on the street, but he was always smiling. Like he would, if he would make eye contact with somebody or somebody acknowledged or looks his way, he would smile. So I had to tell him that he needed to tone it down a little bit because I said, you might as well just put a big sign on your forehead that says I'm American.
Yeah.
Or I'm a foreigner, because it's just in some cultures, that's just not part of a culture to walk around and smile. But you're right. It is something very here I go. I'm looking for words.
American.
This is something that's part of American culture.
Yeah, for sure. And, but of course, it's not that way everywhere in the United States. It's a big country. And I think you find more people smiling more often in smaller areas. Probably a lot of people have heard about New Yorkers. There's kind of, they have a reputation of being maybe not so friendly. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think, when you've got a lot of people, you just go about your business and, you don't have time to be stopping and smiling for everybody,
Right. I agree. I think it's, it's kind of like a lifestyle too. When you're in a bigger city, you're
moving fast.
Right. You're moving fast. You don't have time to stop. You go about you got to get to this place, or you have to go to work, or you don't really have much time to stop and smile or acknowledge others.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think that it has to do with the geography where you live.
Yeah.
That's true. When you go to a smaller town or smaller cities, you could tell that people are a lot more friendly and welcoming. And they tend to make a conversation with you, just strangers.
Right. Yes.
Right. They will start talking to you and asking you about things or making remarks about something they've noticed. Sometimes when you're even waiting at the grocery store in line for a checkout, people will just start talking to you.
Right. Yeah. That happened to me yesterday. I went to get donuts before my Zumba class. Thank you.
Zumba and donuts.
Hey, what are you going to do? Why not? So we went to this donut shop, and as we were getting out of our car, the guy getting out of his car next to us, he started chatting, and he's like, "Hey, are you going to get donuts too?" And we're like, "Yeah." And we're like, "Oh, we'll race you. We got to get in line first because it's a popular donut place."
Okay.
Yeah. So things like that happen all the time, and it's just a natural kind of friendly banter, I guess, with people. And if you hopefully you'll come to visit me one day soon. I really hope so. And you'll notice, like when you drive through, say you go into my subdivision, my neighborhood, if you pass another car or someone walking on the street, they will wave to you.
Oh, yes. I noticed that around here too, in certain neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Not everywhere. People will, sometimes you just drive around and looking at the neighborhood or houses and how things are. People, if they're outside, they will wave to you.
Yeah. So but I just think to myself, when I lived in Chicago, if somebody waved to me, I'd be like, "What do you want?"
Weirdo.
Like, he's up to no good, I'm sure.
Yeah, he wants something. But in this regard, it is similar in Ukraine, because if you're in smaller town, like a village where a lot of people know each other or about each other, and you would go on the street and people will say hello to you.
Yeah. I like it though. I think it's nice.
Yes, it is. It's pleasant.
So what have you found that was interesting?
So one of the first things that I noticed when I was here visiting, the very first time, the air conditioner. Oh, and I was here in the summer, right? So I'm used to the weather in Ukraine. The climate is very similar to Midwestern climate in the United States. So it's kind of hot and humid in the summer, cold in winter, and then all the seasons are the same. And I was always used to, it's hot in the summer. It is what it is. Well, when I came here that summer, the very first time, everywhere you go, there's an air conditioner. And you go from hot to cold, back to outside to hot, then back inside cold.
Yeah.
And it drove me absolutely insane. And I remember getting sick, like cold
that'll
and
do
runny nose, because I was so unused to it. Well, but now that I've lived here for almost 17 years, when I am hot in the summer with an air conditioner is not working, I complain. I complain now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's easy to get used to, I'm sure.
Yes.
Although, again, you should try being down here in the summer, because the stores, the restaurants, they blast the air conditioning. And it is so ridiculous that I find that I have to bring a sweater if I go to a restaurant. Otherwise, I'll freeze. And it's like, okay, I get it that you don't want to be hot, but do we need to be sitting in a refrigerator? I don't think
Right.
so.
I mean, have you ever seen people on the street walking with like a winter coat under their arm? I'm going to a restaurant, so I need this.
And, to this day, my husband laughs at me. He thinks, come on, it's 95 degrees out. And by the way, that's Fahrenheit, guys.
Oh, yes.
I have no idea what that is in Celsius. I'm sorry. But anyway, he's like, it's so hot. What do you need that for? And come on, what it's like in the restaurants. It's really cold.
So he's not bothered by the whole air conditioner temperature difference and fluctuation?
No, not really. But I do notice that he is kind of getting used to the warm climate here, which is nice. If it starts getting to be, a little bit cool, he's like, oh, it's kind of cool. And I'm, oh, really? What happened to you?
Yeah, he used to live in Illinois too.
Yeah. But then I made fun of him then because I said, hey, you came from India, it's supposed to be hot where you lived. How come you can't handle the heat? So now he's kind of gone back to that, liking the heat more, I think. He's adaptable.
Oh, that's good. Yes, that's the best way
to
deal with it. All right. So what are some things you have on your list that you've heard that people were noticing about the United States?
So this is something that literally never occurred to me, but I've seen it in multiple places. Oh, and by the way, just so y'all know, I'm going to link some of the articles that we used. So you can check out some of these other quirky things because there's a lot of great ones on there, but we can only talk about a few. But apparently this is a thing that Americans, if they have a party, they use these red Solo cups. They're called Solo cups, and they're these big red plastic disposable cups. And I literally never noticed this before. But if you watch a movie, if you watch a TV show where, especially like college students or, teenagers having a party or something, everybody's got one of those red cups. And I don't know why.
It is an interesting thing. And you're right. Like every time you watch a movie with some sort of a college party, they always have those red Solo cups. And the funny thing is, last time when we talked about red Solo cups, now every time I watch a movie and I see them and I think about our conversation because of look, they have red Solo cup.
Right? I mean, I literally never noticed it before. And I'm trying to think to myself, back in the day, if I went to a college party or something, did we have those kind of cups? And I'm pretty sure we did. And I don't know why, because, there are so many other cup colors, but it's always red. Not sure why that is.
Do you think maybe because originally the company just came out with the red color? Because it used to be that most of the time they just had red Solo cups. It's now that you can see more colors.
Yeah, right. But it's an odd choice to just have a red cup only. I mean, if you're going to go for a color,
nothing says that you have alcohol in there, like a bright red cup.
Exactly. Yeah. Let me draw attention to myself. Might as well put a bullseye on me or something,
Gosh.
Yeah. Well, so that's a silly thing, but I thought it was interesting because I honestly never noticed it.
That is interesting because when I think about college parties, when I was in college or birthday parties, that's not a thing. Red Solo cup. We don't use red Solo cups.
So what do you just drink out of the bottle?
It depends on the occasion.
What you're drinking?
Not just kidding. But usually it's either paper cups, plastic cups, or we actually use like glass.
Oh my goodness.
And all that.
And so you have to wash them. Oh, that's not happening.
Well, yeah, there's that. However, when I was in college, we lived at the dormitory, right? And when we had celebrations or parties and all that, we just used their mugs, like a tea mug or coffee mug.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I even have pictures from college where we all sitting at the table having celebration and we had wine in our mugs.
Oh, that's so funny. That reminds me, I'm getting off topic here, but this is funny. It reminds me of like when COVID was going on and people were having to do meetings on Zoom or whatever online. And there were these little tips that you should tape a tea bag on the inside of your cup, and your coffee cup or tea mug or whatever, and put wine or beer in it or something so you can be drinking while you're working. I am not endorsing this. I am not condoning this, but it just reminded me of that.
People had to get creative.
Yeah, hey, definitely.
Interesting.
Right. What else do you have?
So while we're talking on drinks and food and all that, one other thing that I've noticed when I came to the United States first time is the size of plates and amount of food they give you at the restaurant. And I remember the very first time when we were in a sit down restaurant, not the fast food,
right?
And they brought out a plate with my order. And I looked at it and I was like, well, it's a serving plate. It's something we put food when we have like a family style dinner.
Right.
And,
this is all for me.
People. Right. And I remember my first thing was like, I will never eat this whole thing.
Yeah.
So, but then the funny thing is that when my husband visited me that very first time and we had dinner at my parents' place and parents' house, we use small plates for dinner or any meal. And he made a remark that, oh, you guys use bread plates for your dinner. Like, what are you talking about? And then I realized like, oh yeah, I know what he means because I said you're using serving platters for your dinner.
Yeah, from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, the size, it's stark difference. Now I don't pay attention to it as much anymore because I've used to it, but it is. And the amount of food, like nobody can eat this much food and then, waste and all that stuff. And
it really is ridiculous, honestly, because in theory, you could take your food home and a lot of people do. But, first of all, some things just don't really heat up that well. They don't taste that good the next day. And then other times what typically happens is you say, oh, I can't eat all this. I'll take it home. And then they'll wrap it up for you and put it in a box. And you either forget it on the table and don't bring it home with you, or you bring it home and you put it in the fridge and it gets buried in there for a couple weeks. And then you forget all about it. And then you've got to throw it away anyway.
Yeah.
So, you made yourself feel better by taking it home because you tried, but the result is the same.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah.
No, a lot of ways. All right. So what's some of your observations?
Well, kind of tagging along onto your topic of these huge serving sizes. I was talking about this with someone and I thought of this myself about how we have these like state fairs and carnivals and things like that. And there are all these deep fried crazy foods. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
And she's, you look interested.
There's some deep fried foods that are really good.
But once you deep fry anything, you kind of can't go wrong, except that you can. And I'm about to tell you some of these right now because, some of the stuff is over the top. Yeah. And when I say it's over the top, I mean that it's like to an extreme that is ridiculous. It's more than what is appropriate or what you should do. Right. So over the top foods. So one thing is these carnival foods, right? And you can deep fry just about anything. I've heard of pizza.
Deep fried pizza.
Deep fried pizza. Like it wasn't bad enough for you by itself, right? You apparently can
put hot oil and
roll it in some batter and then drop it in some hot oil and, make that just a little bit crazier. So there's that. I've seen deep fried Oreo cookies.
Yes.
Doesn't actually sound so bad, I gotta say.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
And I'm embarrassed to say that I've actually tried this deep fried Snickers bars.
I was just gonna say, I've heard
Yeah.
they're really good. I've never tried one, but
They're not bad. I'm gonna say they're not bad.
but when you think of it, especially
sounds
when
disgusting.
it's fresh, well, it does. It does. Well, I mean,
Maybe.
maybe. But when you think of it, it's especially if it's fresh, you dip that Snickers in this hot oil with the batter, and then when you bite into it, it's all like melted chocolate,
And gooey.
melted gooey caramel, and all that stuff. I mean,
You're making me hungry.
it sounds delicious, though, right?
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. I mean, just the thought of it with all this like oil and sweet, and it seems like
Yeah.
too much. But, the reality is
It's
it's
delicious.
pretty darn good. Yeah.
It's delicious.
It's delicious.
I've also heard that people deep fry pickles.
Well, you know what? Okay. I'm going to say I've had deep fried pickles and they're pretty good. I like them. It's kind of popular in the South.
I can see that.
So
I
have you had
haven't-
them?
I don't
No?
think I've tried deep fried pickle. But I love pickles, so I'm like, I mean, you're gonna deep fry it in the batter. I mean, can't go wrong.
Why not? Sure. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're bad, aren't we?
Yeah. But what I really want to know is, will you try deep fried Coca-Cola?
How do you do that?
Yeah. Well, apparently you you mix the cola with like some sugar and eggs, and then you mix in some flour, make a dough out of it, make a batter,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
then you make it little balls and you drop it into hot oil.
Oh, I would try it.
Would you? Okay. Yeah.
I would.
I guess I would try anything. Why not?
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Coca-Cola, but I don't hate it. I like if
Yeah.
have a sip of it or anything like that. So the flavor, I think the deep fried Coca-Cola flavor would be interesting.
It
Very
would be.
interesting.
It feels a little over the top to me, only because you're adding more sugar to it. I'm like,
Yeah.
not sure about
That's what I
that.
see.
But how about this? Will you try deep fried butter?
Well, I might, maybe in a
Okay.
small amount. And
A
the
small
reason,
amount, yes.
because essentially it would be a batter with a little melted butter inside, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And that I would try it, because when you think about, one of the famous dishes in Ukraine is chicken Kiev.
Yeah.
And it's essentially
Butter inside.
right, chicken breast with seasoned butter on the inside, and it's fried, like, or baked or cooked.
Okay.
It depends how. So when you cut into it, you kind of have that melty butter on the inside, and so yeah, I would try it, and I love butter. So
I do too, but I guess the batter would have to be really thick.
Yes.
Otherwise, you feel like it would just be this glob, or not even
Right.
a glob, because it'll be melted. It'll just
Right.
be a bunch of butter running down your face. I don't know. It sounds very strange to me, but
sounds
It's
like
a
something
thing.
we need to explore.
we need to do that, and we'll report on it later.
Yes,
Okay. You have another one?
I do. So, one another thing that was a big, they call it culture shock. Something when you go to another country or experience another culture, and you kind of
You're like, whoa.
realize that, oh gosh, how did this happen? I never expect that. Okay, so people wearing pajamas in public.
Oh, yeah.
One of my, I mean, I can't say pet peeve, because it's not like I can't live with it, but it was a big culture shock for me. This one time, it was one of the, first few days I just moved here and was living here. We went to a restaurant. My husband and I went to a restaurant. And my husband noticed that I was staring at these young girls at the table not far from us. And he was like, well, what's going on? What is wrong with them? I said, well, you can't see? Like, they're wearing pajamas. So I thought maybe they ran away from a hospital or something.
Some escapees.
Yes. And he goes, oh no, that's normal. People do that all the time. And I'm like, what do you mean do all the time? Like, wouldn't you, like, when you leave a house, and especially in my culture, you get dressed. Like, you even put makeup on sometimes, you want to look presentable. I don't know. It's not one of the things that we usually do, go out in pajamas.
That's
So
so
that was a
funny. Yeah, you
big
know,
shock.
I don't go out in pajamas either, but I'm not 100% against the idea. I like comfort. I remember when I was in college and I did not live on campus, but I would have this 8 o'clock in the morning class, and some other students, most of the students there lived on campus, and they would roll in like half asleep in their pajamas, no joke, flip flops, or I think even slippers. I don't know. And I thought, man, they just look so comfortable. I wish I could do that.
I just had an idea. I think we need to have another episode on fashion crimes.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of those fashion crimes. Oh, I like it.
Oh,
Make a
I
note.
think we can go on and on and on about that.
Yeah, for sure. And
So-
and you know what else too? I think it would be really interesting to talk more about specific states and
Yep.
things that are specific to that state, and something that it's known for. We could really learn a lot about the country too. I think that'd be super fun. Anyway,
true.
I digress.
Yes, we
Means
get
I'm getting off
sidetracked.
topic. Okay.
All right. Did you have any other things you noticed?
Do I have another one? Yes. So this one was really surprising to me. I found this in an article, and I will also link this because I think you'll find it interesting. And this is someone who noticed that first of all, I've noticed this too. Our money is very boring. It's really sad when you compare to, I kind of collect money from other countries because I just think it's fascinating. It's interesting. And I tell you, nobody's got boring, ugly money like the United States. I'm so sorry, but it's true. And it's all the same size. I'm talking about the paper money is the same size.
Right.
And I always have, since I was a kid, it's always been like, I wondered, how do blind people survive with using money? And how can they possibly tell the difference between the bills? And I know in many countries, each denomination of the bill is a different size. Is it like that in Ukraine?
Yes. And it is more colorful. Different bill,
Yeah, I'm
different
sure of it.
denomination has a different color, but there is a texture to it. So the way blind people can identify, and I wonder if there is that feature about American money. There is a different type of, like a symbol or something that they can feel through texture to identify what bill it is, what denomination.
That's a good point. I've never heard that.
Right.
But it certainly would make sense, because otherwise it's crazy that.
But that the other problem that you brought up, the money, is a good point. Coins.
Yes.
So most of the countries, or that I have experienced, money from them or saw money from other countries, they have numbers on their coins.
Yes.
And United States,
I never knew this. I literally had to pull out some coins and see that. Well, first of all, our 5-cent piece, it's called a nickel, and we just call it a nickel. And it's literally, it's written out in letters, 5 cents. There's no number on there. So first of all, you're getting used to a new type of money. And then you've got to look around everywhere to figure out how much this thing is. I honestly had no idea that our coins do not have the numerals on them. Kind of blew my mind.
Now, this would be kind of concerning. How do blind people recognize that? Because at least you could trace, if there is a number, you could trace it with your fingers.
But there is something raised on there. I'm sure they're able to feel. But no, I mean, just in general, the faces and the wording, I think they can feel the difference. But with paper, I mean, unless there's something there that it's just so sensitive that, the rest of us don't know about, I don't know. It just seems like that would be really a challenge. Right. I don't know. That's just odd.
That is
I thought that was really surprising because I had never heard of that before.
Right. So speaking about shopping and money and all that, one of the things I also noticed about the United States is that pharmacy in the United States. It's not just a pharmacy where you go and buy medicine.
Right. That's true.
You can, it's kind of like a shopping mall or a big store. You can buy a lot of stuff in there. You can buy food. You can buy some other things. I mean, you can buy toys.
Yeah, right.
Some of the pharmacy stores. So that was a big difference for me, because in Ukraine, when you go to a pharmacy and it's a store where you buy medicine or products for medical use.
Right.
Like, and even like they would have tea, but it would be like a herbal tea or some sort of a medicinal tea or something like that. But they don't sell food in there or any other stuff. And here you go to any of like the big brand stores. I mean, yeah, they sell medicine there, but at the same time, they sell everything else. And the other thing is that pretty much every grocery store has pharmacy in it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I thought that was really interesting. And to kind of, if you don't mind, to kind of go on with the theme too, the other thing is that you cannot buy antibiotics in the United States without a prescription from a doctor.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right. And in Ukraine, a generic antibiotic, like if you have an ear infection or sinus infection, you kind of, sometimes you kind of know, like, I just need antibiotic to get rid of this. So you could go and buy a generic antibiotic to treat, like a mild antibiotic to treat that. In the United States, you have to go to a doctor and see a doctor, pay the fee.
Pay the doctor.
Pay the doctor.
That's the key there.
Right. So the doctor can tell you to go and buy antibiotic.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the biggest waste of time and money.
It's a scam. I'm sure of it. Yeah, because I am prone to sinus infections. Fortunately, since I've been living here, knock on wood, I don't get them as much as I used to. But you remember when I was in Illinois, I probably had them 3-4 times a year, and how sick I would get from those. They were horrible. Yes. And I remember, I would call my doctor and say, listen, I know I have a sinus infection. I'm at work. I really don't want to have to take off. Can you just call it in for me? And when I say call it in, I mean the doctor will call the pharmacy for you and say, fill this prescription for her. She'll come pick it up. Right. And they would say, no, I'm sorry. You have to come in. You have to see the doctor. So I'd have to take time off of work, travel, however it was, how far it was, to the doctor's office. And then you have an appointment, but you still sit in the office and you wait. Yeah, it's a half-day thing, and you're already sick. And where I could have just been having the medicine already. Really frustrating. I agree. Yeah. But it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But our stores are crazy.
I feel like we could probably have another talk about a whole medical system in the United States and the differences in little nuances. And
when I tell my students, especially the ones obviously who live abroad, they don't really get how our system works, and neither do I actually. But they ask me about it, and I try to explain it, and they just look at me like I'm kind of nuts. Like, what? That didn't even make any sense. I'm like, yeah, kind of.
So maybe it would be helpful to have an episode about to kind of help people understand. Yeah. What is it? The medical system here is very different from anywhere else.
Yeah. Very complicated. Yes, for sure. All right. Well, that was a super fun conversation. What do you think?
Absolutely. And I feel like we could probably go on and on and on, but.
And, actually, I feel like this could be a multi-part topic because there's tons of things.
There's a lot of weird stuff about America.
A lot of weirdos here. No, I'm just kidding.
A lot of weirdos.
So if any of our listeners have a suggestion for something we could talk about on another episode, maybe we could gather a few more ideas like this and discuss those, because I think it's really fun. Yes, so feel free to contact us. All right. Fabulous talking with you, Christina, as always.
Oh, nice, absolutely. I enjoy our conversations.
And to all of you out there, until next time, here's to good coffee, good vibes, and great conversation.
Cheers.